Good morning. How's everybody? We're in Aner today, and everybody's enjoying breakfast and smiling. So that helps me feel good, and glad to be here with you guys. We're talking about something that's not really sexy today, and it's called nurturing. And so when you use that term, you kind of say, nurturing, what has that got to do with leadership? You know, what does that mean? Well, let me just share this quote with you from Tom Peters. He says this: management is about arranging and telling. Leadership is about nurturing and enhancing. And here's what I mean by that. Nurturing, if you define it, means that you're caring for and you're concerned for the growth of something. You're encouraging the growth of something. But in our case, when we're talking about leadership and influence, it means the care and encouragement of other people. So if you really want to influence other people, they need to know that you care and that you're an encouragement to them. So that's kind of the context of what we're going to be talking about. Here's the thing: people must be cared for, not just physically, but they've got to be cared for emotionally. If people know that you really care for them, they tend to respond a whole lot better to you. That's going to be your clients, that's going to be coworkers, that's even at home. Your kids, your spouses, they're all going to respond better when you know that you really care. Here's the thing: sometimes I do marriage counseling, and you find out that people don't really care for each other. And when that's in a marriage, things don't work real well. And it's just the same thing in a client relationship here at the bank. If a customer doesn't think you really care, what are they going to do? They're going to be open-minded to go where? Down the street, right, to the next bank. So here's the thing. John Knox says this: you cannot antagonize and influence at the same time. So you can't be trying to encourage people and tear people down at the same time, or you can't be negative and positive at the same time. We've got to have a mindset of making sure that we're encouraging people. Because here's the thing: at the heart of all nurturing is a genuine care for other people. If you don't really care for people, do you think people know? Yeah. Absolutely they do, yeah. And so we've got to make sure that people understand. We've got to have a mindset that says, I'm going to care for people, regardless of if they deserve it or not. We don't do it because of that, right? But we're going to care for people. And if we care for people, then we're going to have influence, because they're going to realize that we care. A lot of people don't realize this. I don't know if you've read a biography on Ben Franklin or not, but he started out in life, he wasn't a particularly nice man. He kind of didn't filter well. He said what he thought, and said a lot of just negative things, because that was kind of the way he was wired. But he figured out real quick that I'm not going to get far in life doing this. So he changed his mindset, and then he made this comment. He said, I will speak ill of no man and speak all the good I know of everyone. And of course, you know who Ben Franklin is, and he ultimately ended up being ambassador to France, and obviously a high-ranking diplomat in our country. So it matters. People are influenced the most by those who make them feel the best about themselves. Think about that. Who do you want to be around? If somebody tells you how great you are and how pretty you are and how well you're dressed and how articulate you are and how smart you are, who do you gravitate to? Yeah, if somebody tells you I wouldn't wear that, or I mean, is that who you gravitate to? Think about when you were in school. It might be a college professor or a high school teacher. Who did you gravitate to? Whose class did you want to be in? The teacher who said you're smart, or the teacher that didn't have anything to do with you? Yeah, absolutely. A name's coming to mind, a guy named Irby Kuhn. When I was in high school, a guy named Irby Kuhn, he always told me I was one of the smartest people he knew. Of course, he told that to 100 kids. but you know what? I believed it. And guess what? We were friends up until he passed away not too long ago. So the point is it makes a huge difference. All right, you got to be a giver. We talk about being net giver, net taker a lot, but you got to be a giver to be an influencer. As a nurturer, you got to focus on giving more than getting. It's not about what you get, it's about what you give. And you have to have the belief that if I give enough to my coworkers, if I give enough to clients, if I give enough to people in my life, I'm going to get more back. It's the sowing and reaping thing. Listen, if you're a farmer and you expect a crop in the fall, what do you got to do? Got to plant in the spring, right? You got to plow when it's cold. You got to plant in the spring. You got to nurture the crop. And that's the same way it is in relationships. You don't just harvest. You got to sow and you got to plant. And so you got to be a giver. But here's what you got to give. You got to give love. That sounds kind of silly for me to be standing here talking about leadership and talking about love, but the real deal is this: you've got to love people, because that's the way people are going to feel valued. That's the way they're going to feel important. You got to respect people. How many of you know folks that just don't respect people? Maybe you got somebody in your life that doesn't show respect. What kind of influence do they have?
Negative.
Yeah, it's a negative influence. And so do you want to be around them?
No.
Are they going to influence you? Can they influence you in any way? I don't want to be influenced. I don't give them the time of day, right? If they're a negative influence, I'm cutting them off. So think about that. Here's another one. Sense of security. Do you always do what's right? People need to feel secure with you. And so if you're constantly doing the things right, they'll have confidence in you. And when that happens, that's going to increase your influence. But listen, if sometimes you do things right, sometimes maybe you don't, sometimes you cross the line, they don't know exactly how it's going to go with you in terms of your decision making and your behavior, guess what? They're going to be a little standoffish, right? It's going to limit your ability to influence them and lead them. Here's 3 questions that you've got to ask, and I've shared these with you before, but they're really important, and that's this. Can people trust you? If you want to influence people, they've got to be able to trust you. So you have to be very consistent in the way you do things and what your values are in order for people to trust you. Listen, if a client comes into the bank and they really don't have a trust factor, they probably won't be a client very long, right? How about people that you work with? If you don't have that trust factor, you see where I'm going with that? At home, if that trust factor is not there, it's a struggle, right? How about this? How many of you have kids? Yeah. How many of you have teenagers? All right. Yeah. Here's the question. If your teenager tells a couple of lies, where's the trust go? Yeah. So they've got to do what? Build it back up. So their influence is not as good. Listen, if your teenager's doing things really well and they want a new car, you give consideration to it. Maybe, if it's in the budget and it's something you think needs to happen. But what if they're not? What if they've broken trust with you and they want a new car? Not happening, right? Okay. So the trust factor is really important. Here's another one. People need to know that you're committed to them, you're committed to the relationship. So that means even in the banking side of things, people got to know that you're all in on their business and you're trying to do the thing that helps them with their business and with their life. If they know that you're trying to help them and you're committed to them, it's going to make a huge difference. Because here's the thing. In banking, we can't always say yes, right? Sometimes we have to say no. But if we've got their best interest in mind and they believe that and we're able to communicate that to them, then the no will be okay because it's the best thing for them. But if they don't believe we're committed to them and the no comes, what happens? Y'all don't ever say no? Absolutely you do, yeah. So what happens when you say no? I can't cash that check for you. I can't take this deposit.
Get upset.
Yeah, that's the thing. But if they really believe that you're committed to them, they'll handle it a whole lot better. Okay? All right, here's another one. People have got to know that you care about them as a person. And that's an important thing to do. You've got to care. And here's another one. Recognition. You've got to show appreciation for what's done. If you're going to be a nurturer and that nurturing is going to influence people, then you have got to make sure that you give recognition to people. People like to be praised. We crave, I'm reading a book right now, and the word that they use is crave. People crave recognition and appreciation. Think about that. Nothing makes you feel better, right, than somebody to tell you how pretty you are, how good looking you are, how smart you are, what a great banker you are, what a great wife, what a great husband. I've got a group of guys that I'm doing some coaching with now, and one of the things that I've got them doing is telling their wife every day, thank you for marrying me. Every day. Now they've been doing it for about 30 days. So I asked them this week, I said, guys, is it moving the needle for you? What's happening? Big smiles break out on everybody's face. They laugh and they're having a good time with it. But here's what's happening. It makes a difference. Because what's happening with their wives?
They're happy.
Yeah, they're feeling appreciated. Remember? I mean, they're craving that appreciation. So listen, if they're saying thank you for marrying me every single day, sincerely, not just checking the box, but sincerely, guess what that's doing to their relationship? Yeah, it's kind of lifting a little bit. It's not a big thing, but you know what? If the needle moves in a positive direction, the needle moves in a positive direction, right? Okay. All right, here we go. Robert McNamara says this: brains are like hearts, they go where they are appreciated. Think about that. We go where we're appreciated. Here's another one: encouragement is oxygen to the soul. I don't know, I didn't make that up. That was a quote from somebody, I just don't remember who it is. But anyway, encouragement is oxygen to the soul. It means a lot to be encouraged. William Ward said this: flatter me and I may not believe you. Criticize me and I may not like you. Ignore me and I may not forgive you. But encourage me and I'll never forget you. Think about that. Encourage me and I'll never forget you. So here's what we need to do is look at it from this standpoint. What do people receive? If we're nurturing, and again, that's a people skill we need to have, and if we're nurturing, what is it that somebody can receive from that? So instead of trying to put others in their place, which is our self-centered mindset, we flip that around and we try to put ourselves in their place. So here's what they receive. They get positive self-worth when we're nurturing and encouraging them, and that means a lot. Think about this. Self-esteem impacts every aspect of a person's life: employment, education, relationships, and more. People need to feel good about themselves. If they do feel good about themselves, good things are going to happen. Do you realize this? In Scripture it says this: as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. What do you think that means? If I think life is good for me, what is life going to be? Yeah, if I think life just is kind of stinky, then what does that mean? Yeah, it's going to be what I think it is, right? I mean, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So here's the thing: if you're helping somebody feel good about themselves, and they're starting to feel good about themselves, then does that mean that you have influence with them? You think you will? Yeah, absolutely. Here's another one: a sense of belonging. Look for ways to include people. That may be in a social group, it may be at work, but make sure you include people. People want to feel like they're a part of something, and so that's real important. Here's a perspective that they should get. It's not who you are that holds you back, but rather who you think you are. Right? If you can help somebody change their thinking a little bit and think more positively about their marriage, think more positively about the bank, more positively about what their impact on the bank is, what does that do? If you think you're making a difference, does it matter? Absolutely. You know, a big part of job satisfaction is what?
Being happy.
Yeah, well, being happy, but part of that is feeling like I'm contributing, I'm a part of it, I'm important, right? So help each other feel that way. It'll make a big difference. Here's another one: feeling of significance. Oh, I already touched that. How important you are. And here's the last one I'll share with you: hope. And it's how you think about others. It's a matter of attitude. If you're thinking positive things about your clients, your coworkers, guess what? It shows in your attitude. If you're not, it shows in your attitude. A lot of you have been in banking for a while now. Have you worked with people that didn't have a good attitude? If you've been in banking very long, yes, that's a yes, right? Yeah, because not all bankers have good attitudes. So that's a yes. Think about the mindset it creates when somebody's got a negative attitude. It's like putting too much salt in the soup, right? It just doesn't taste right, doesn't feel right. So think about that. Here's another one: when you realize your self-worth, you'll stop giving people discounts. And I want to take two spins on that. One is you'll stop discounting people, but then at the other side of that is you're going to have value yourself. You don't have to give away your bank to do business. If you value yourself, you don't have to discount it. You don't have to hold your head and say, well, that rate's a little high, you know. That's the best we got. You know what I mean? You don't have to play it down. Because if you think you're worth it, if you think that what you're doing is right, then you can stand tall, hold your head up, look them in the eye and say, this is what we got. Lenders, if you want to charge a fee and you know your customers are going to whine, but you think you're worth it, you hold to the fee, right? You don't have to go in with the mindset that you're going to discount everything in order to sell it, because you got value. So if you have self-value and you believe you're bringing something to the table, does that make sense? Then you don't have to hold your head or apologize or feel like you got to discount it to sell it. Okay? All right, here's one thing we want to talk about is becoming a natural nurturer. How do I cultivate that mindset? Here's how you do it. You got to commit to people. All right, you got to commit to people you're around, the people you're influencing. That's family members, church, friends, work. You just got to commit to people and not to yourself. Right? It can't be about you. You have to be thinking what's best for them, not what's best for me. Here's another one. Believe in people. Sometimes a lot of folks are struggling and they're not 100% sure of what's going on. So you got to encourage them and make them understand that, hey, look, I believe in you. You can do this. How many of you have had doubts or fears about something and somebody's come along and put their arm around you and said, hey, I believe in you. I think you can do it. Right? I mean, in school, maybe you're in tough classes or trying to get a certain grade and somebody said, hey, you got this. You can do this. Or maybe you applied for a job and you didn't know if you were going to get it and somebody said, no, you need to apply. It'd be in their best interest to hire you. Isn't that encouragement? Makes you feel good about it? Yeah. So make sure you commit to people and believe in them. Here's another one. You need to be accessible to people. You need to be accessible. Don't build up blocks for people. You know, one of the worst things you can do, I was speaking to a high-level leader for a while here over the last few months, and then all of a sudden he became inaccessible to me. The phone calls stopped, the text messages stopped, and I'm not getting a return phone call now. So what am I thinking? What does that mean? Now this is a high-level leader, so what am I thinking? Now let me just tell you, I thought he was pushing a 10 when we first started talking. Thought he was pushing a 10. What do you think he's pushing now? What number on a scale of 1 to 10 do you think he's pushing now? Do you think he's still pushing a 10? Where's he at? He's probably dropped a couple of notches with me because, listen, if you're not accessible, it tells me you don't care about me. And if you don't care about me, your influence is definitely down with me. So now he might be an 8, maybe. He might even be a 7. All because I'm not talking to him, right? He's not accessible to me. So here's the thing. If you want to kill your influence with somebody, don't return their call. If you want to kill your influence, don't return their text. If you want to kill your influence, don't speak. I promise you it'll do it, right? It'll do it. So here's the thing. Give with no strings attached. Expect nothing in return. Because here's the thing. It will come back to you. That's the principle of sowing and reaping, right? Give, give, give. It'll come back to you. If you're in a self-centered mindset, the danger is you give with the expectation of a return. And that's a dangerous game to play because you're going to get your feelings hurt and it's going to cause problems. But listen, if you're just giving freely with no expectation of return, it'll come back to you. Okay? Thank you. All right. And so here we go. Give people opportunities and lift people to a higher level. Give them opportunities and lift them to a higher level. Here's what Walt Disney said. There are 3 kinds of people in the world. There are well poisoners who discourage others, stomp their creativity, and tell them what they can't do. Then there's lawnmowers, people who have good intentions but are self-absorbed, who mow their own lawns but never help others. And then there are life enhancers. This last category contains people who reach out to enrich the lives of others, lift them up, and inspire them. So here's the thing. Last couple comments on nurturing other people. You got to develop a nurturing environment, home, business, church, everybody around you. They need to feel loved and respected by you. And so give encouragement. Pick 2 or 3 people, because this needs to be a practice we do. Pick 2 or 3 people that you know really do need encouragement and be very intentional about giving them that encouragement. Maybe they're having some physical issues, maybe they're having marital issues, problems with kids, maybe they're struggling a little bit at work, maybe struggling with new responsibilities, whatever it is. Pick 2 or 3 people out that you know need encouragement and be very intentional about that. And then here's another one I want to share with you is rebuild bridges. There are some people that you probably don't have the right influence with that you know you need to. Go back and ask for a do-over. Be the bigger person. Just say, hey, look, I know I didn't do this right, but give me a chance to do it over. I want to make it up to you. And it'll mean a lot to them. So here's the last thing I'm going to share with you, and that is list 3 things. This is homework. List 3 things that you can do to improve your influence by nurturing. Think about it. 3 things that you can do. What is it that you do really well? And try to build on that. And it'll help you in your ability to influence people. And I'm completely out of time. Love you guys. Thank y'all for letting me be with you. And remember, encourage somebody. It'll make a big difference. Thank you.